All right, good morning. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll give you the updates on the injury front so far. So the following players will not practice today: Gabe Davis, Rasul Douglas, Taylor Rapp, Tyrell Dodson, and then limited in the concussion protocol is Ty Johnson. Deion Dawkins has hand laceration coming off the game, so he'll be limited as well. And then veteran rest will be Vaughn and Leonard Floyd. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, and we'll go from there.
What is Taylor Rapp dealing with?
Calf.
It's pretty distant from last week, Sean. As your injury report's a bit different. It must be a concern going into a playoff game now.
Yeah, would you like to be a little healthier than that? Yes, we've been dealing with it, quite honestly, most of the year, and we found a way, and we'll continue to do that.
Do you have an indication on, potential availability for some of the guys, Rasul, Gabe, Tyrell?
As far as the game goes, you mean? Or yeah, no. Just talking with the trainers, we got to take it one day at a time here and see how we go.
So you put them all in that day-to-day bucket?
Yeah.
Okay. And Sean, with Joe Brady, since you've observed him in his new role and worked with him, what has stood out about his process and how he collaborates?
Yeah, I would say, bless you, right from day one, and Joe in this role has been a great communicator, very collaborative, and his energy, allows for that. He's got good energy to get up out of his seat from his desk, go connect with said coach, and make sure they're aligned on the plan and the understanding of the plan, and or whatever it might be. So I think that's what stood out the most.
Can you talk about Rudolph and what he's meant to them? I mean, kind of came out of nowhere, really, and they're 3-0.
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
No, they're playing good football. Again, I've said this before. You don't look at records. I mean, people could look at our record and say the same thing, right? Just in terms of, hey, well, they snuck into the playoffs, whatever. This is a good football team, undefeated under Mason Rudolph, and well coached, playing good on both sides of the ball and special teams. I think when you watch the last 3 games in particular, they're playing high-quality football.
What do you think about the physical, when you see and know about the physical nature of their play on both sides of the line?
Yeah, very physical, very, very physical, as physical as we've seen all season.
They've also, I saw the stats, since week 9, they've run the ball more than any team in the league. Sunday could be one of those days in Orchard Park, so, their running game, what do you have to do to kind of keep that under control? Well,
It starts with a mindset. It starts with a mindset, so you got to have that. That's really where it starts. So it's a physical game. They're a physical team. Look, if we want to have a chance, we got to play physical. There's no negotiating around that or finding a way around it. That's the style of football you have to play, in particular this time of year and against this football team.
Sean, I know playoffs usually wipe the slate clean, everything you did before matters, but considering the mindset of your team for over a month has been playoff must-win scenarios, do you encourage them to almost carry that over as opposed to normal years entering the postseason?
I would say yes. Just overall, we have to continue to take the lessons we've learned from the last 6 weeks or so and continue with those, continue to apply those lessons. And I think the biggest thing is just the love that the different displays or different forms of love that the guys have shown through their play in some capacities, and then just off the field in other capacities. And I think that's probably the biggest thing in terms of how they've done some of the things that they've done to this point.
Sean, I'm not sure remember back to the start of training camp, but you were joking about all the buzz about Dalton Kincaid and all the fantasy buzz, and said, can we just wait to let him get his helmet on first and have a full practice? I'm checking back in. What do you make?
I would say, first of all, he's had a very, very good year as his first season in the NFL, and I'm not surprised. Some of that is so you guys don't, put too much expectations on a young player who hasn't even, at that point, practiced one one snap in at least training camp in the NFL. So, I think he's had a phenomenal year. I think his approach has been tremendous with Coach Boris and having Dawson in that room and Q Morris. I mean, it's a really good room in terms of the mentality of the room and the day-to-day approach. And Dalton is wired the right way. He's stayed resilient. He's gotten his legs back underneath him after probably a little bit of a wall there that most players endure, and I think that says a lot about his mental toughness also.
Have you seen any, just as a follow-up, in a broader picture, given Gabe's uncertainty of his status, how important is it to be entering the playoffs having Dalton and Khalil and even, other guys emerge to take that load off should Gabe not be available?
Yeah, I mean, you saw that this past weekend, and we've got to move forward, and we are. We're going to need it again. It takes everyone, and you never know when your number is going to be called, as it was for Balin last week, or Vandy, Trent, many others, right? T-Rap, Deontay. So you've got to be ready when your number is called, and that goes back to what happens today and the week as we build into to Sunday there.
When you mentioned Dalton's approach, like what specifically are you seeing that has enabled him to have this kind of season?
Well, it's more of a consistent, mature beyond his years approach in terms of he's in the training room, he's staying ahead of things in terms of taking care of his body, because that's as hard as just keeping your body as fresh as it can possibly be through 17 games. He studies, he's in here early, he stays late. All those qualities, those intangibles, are what allow players to be really good early. Or I can't tell you how many times players who eventually do that were like, man, I missed. I wish I would have done that earlier. And then there's players who never figure it out, and then they're in and out of the league rather quickly. So it's no different in real life. I mean, it's no different. You put the time in, at some point you'll see the results.
Sean, where do you think the offense is at right now in terms of its overall level of consistency heading into the postseason?
Always trying to find that perfect game, even though perfection does not exist. We've moved the ball. We moved the ball in particular this past game. And so it's, hey, what can we do to continue to improve? And that is true of the offense. It's true of all three phases, starting with me. So I think that's just that growth mindset of continual improvement is where our focus is probably out more than anything right now, offensively and the other two phases as well.
With James Cook's emergence this season, having two wide receivers such as Khalil Shakir and Gabe Davis, their willingness to do the dirty work and run blocking, how have you seen that open the door for James to kind of spread his wings here?
Yeah, unselfishness is one of the qualities of great teams, and I'm not saying we're there yet. I'm just saying that if you want to be great, you've got to be willing to serve, and you've got to be willing to be that teammate that's willing to do the dirty work. That 1/11th mindset that we refer to quite often here. Without that, it's just a group of individuals, independent contractors. So I would say that you saw that quite frequently in the game the other night, and we need more of it. And that just goes back to, as I said earlier, I'm not sure who asked the question, maybe John did, but just the different displays of love for your teammates, for the team, it comes out in different forms, and I think that's one of the areas you're talking about right there.
With those end-of-game situations, something you study a lot during the bye week, and the success you've had since then with it, is there anything that stands out that's working in those, especially on the defensive side, with that being something you looked at specifically?
It's been different each time, I would say. I think more than anything, it's belief. It's a mindset, and I would say that we practiced it before. Now we're practicing it more full speed. So I think those are invaluable exposures for us every week.
Sean, the run defense has done a really good job creating negative plays, either tackles for loss or no gain. But on the flip side of that, it's also given up a fair share of explosive runs too. Do those correlate in any way in your mind, and how do you try to limit one with maximizing the other?
Yeah, no, fair question, Jay. We've got to be more consistent, right? And that starts with just great run fundamentals, and not going down that rabbit hole right now. But there's a lot of things that go into it, right? In terms of fundamentals, playing with your hands, playing with good pad level, being in your gap, fitting where you're supposed to fit. And again, similar to the question earlier that Alex asked, it takes all 11, not just the front. It's an all 11 total defensive team effort in that regard. So I've got to start by putting them in the right positions to be there, to be that in terms of the run game, and then the technique that's involved there.
Sean, 3 minutes to go in the game, 4th and 1. You're in your own territory. You go for it, you get it. When you started coaching, for a long time, that would have been almost unheard of. Now it's become more commonplace. Did that take a while to get used to, or how do you think that evolved for you, maybe, and for the game itself, where you're going to put maybe more faith in the offense and try to keep the ball in those circumstances that it used to be almost a guaranteed punt?
Right. Yeah. I mean, from the time you're this big, growing up playing Pop Warner ball, AAU ball, whatever it's called, that's a punt situation every time, right? 10 out of 10. The game's evolved. Analytics has I think moved the game forward a little bit as well, and then every situation is a little bit different. We may get in that situation this week, and I don't do that. So that situation, I felt like it was the right situation for us to go for it and stay on the gas. And we'll just see every situation, like I said, is different. Every game's different because the opponents are different.
How much of that is the game evolving versus how much is that you evolving?
I think it's probably both. I just think that the longer you're in a job, if you're doing it the right way, you continue to grow and learn, and you go through experiences. No different for your jobs. You're better. Hopefully, you're better in your second year as a reporter than your first year. And if you're doing your job right as a coach, no different. And so we were just discussing another situation that came up in the game, myself and another staff member a few minutes ago, and saying, hey, I feel good about that. I have peace about that, but let's go back and follow up on that. Do you still feel good about it, as I do? And so it's continual growth, and because no two situations are exactly alike from year to year, but you can draw on certain experiences that you've had in the past and say, hey, this is how I would handle that. Or even, quite honestly, you watch games around the league and you see some of those situations, and there's just a lot that goes into it.
Sean, in terms of the weather on Sunday, the weather will be the weather, but
Yeah.
how do you prepare for that? And is it almost just a mindset?
A little bit of both, I would say, for sure, Jenna, with the mindset, yes, and then also the preparation that goes into it. We've been through a lot of games here where we've had to, no pun intended, weather the storm that way, right? So it affects a lot of things. It affects how you play the game, how you manage the game. So it's when we have that here, it's an added dimension to our preparation.
When it comes to adapting and with the new expanded practice squad rules that you've enjoyed over the past couple of years, the benefits of having a guy like Leonard Fournette and Josh Norman on the practice squad, which was not really available to you, back 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's been healthy and good for the league, and I would venture to guess that veteran players would agree with that. Like, some guys are able to get their legs underneath of them, and then when they're called to play, that they're ready to go. As opposed to a few years ago, before this new rule came into play, that you'd have maybe none or one or two. I can't remember the old rule. In fact, it's been a few years, but I like the way it is now, and I'm sure, again, some of these more veteran players appreciate the league doing it.
Sean, back to your physicality. You were talking about how the Steelers will be the most physical team you play.
Very confident. Yeah, but that's why we're going out to practice today as well, to continue to work on those key fundamentals that we're going to need to execute come Sunday. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.